They say money doesn't grow on trees, but this was not the case for a 15-year-old kid who ended up stealing $24 million worth of Bitcoin from his dad. But how did he do it? Well, let's start at the beginning. Back in 2017, a 15-year-old kid was browsing a forum looking for cheap accounts that he could flip for a profit. He stumbled upon an ad offering an account for sale for $600. But this was no ordinary account. This account had a username that was so coveted that someone was willing to pay $600 just for it, and the username was simply Jerry. But what made this username so valuable? Well, it was because it was a highly sought-after name on a popular platform, and our young entrepreneur saw an opportunity to make some easy money. He bought the account and then immediately turned around and sold it for $3,000. This taught him a valuable lesson. Having a good username could be a very profitable business. In fact, the more he looked into it, the more he realized that people were willing to spend thousands of dollars on usernames, especially if they were short, memorable, and easy to spell. So he started scouring the internet looking for good usernames that he could buy and sell. But little did he know that his obsession with usernames would soon turn him into a millionaire. At the same time, our young protagonist was spending most of his free time playing video games, but recently, he'd become interested in learning more about the technology behind his favorite games. That's when he discovered the world of information security. Now, there are many ways to get into information security, but our protagonist chose to start with a program called Wireshark. It's basically a free software that can capture and analyze network traffic. This can be used for all kinds of things like troubleshooting network issues, monitoring network traffic, or even hacking into other people's networks. Of course, our protagonist had no interest in hacking, but he was curious about the software and wanted to learn more about it. As he delved deeper into the world of information security, he became fascinated with everything related to data and encryption. He learned about how data is transmitted over the internet and how it's stored on computers. And one day he stumbled upon something that really caught his interest: cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is a digital or virtual currency that is secured by cryptography. It's a type of money that is not controlled by any government or financial institution. And this really intrigued the teenager, because he was always skeptical of banks and other financial authorities. To him, cryptocurrency was a new way of thinking about money, a way that was more secure and less controlled by the government. So he decided to invest some of his savings into crypto. At first he was a bit overwhelmed by the different types of cryptocurrencies out there. There was Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, Monero, and countless others. But he didn't know which ones to invest in, so he did what any smart investor would do. He went online to see what other people were saying, and that's when he came across a subreddit called Crypto Moonshats. This subreddit is dedicated to discussing small cryptocurrencies that have the potential for big gains. It's a place where investors come together to share their ideas and learn about the latest trends in the cryptocurrency market. He had made more money in a few days than he ever had in his entire life, but the teenager was not greedy. He knew that it was important to cash out while he was ahead, so he started looking for ways to convert his trigger coins into real money. But that's when he ran into a problem. Most cryptocurrency exchanges require users to be at least 18 years old, and since the teenager was only 15, he was not able to open an account on these exchanges. He tried reaching out to some cryptocurrency brokers, but they all said the same thing. They were not willing to work with someone under the age of 18. The teenager was desperate. He needed to cash out his investment before the price of Trigger dropped, so he turned to the only resource he could think of: his dad. The teenager had never asked his dad for money before, but he knew that this was an emergency. He needed help and he needed it fast. He explained his situation to his dad and begged him to help him cash out his investment. But his dad was not as excited about cryptocurrency as the teenager was. He thought it was a scam, and he refused to help his son. The teenager was devastated. He felt like he had nowhere to turn. But then he remembered the Crypto Moonshot subreddit. Surely someone there could help him. He posted a message explaining his situation and asked if anyone could help him cash out his trigger coins. To his surprise, he got a lot of responses. Some people offered to buy his coins, but they wanted to pay him in another cryptocurrency, which was not helpful. Others told him to wait until he turned 18 and then he could cash out. But the teenager did not want to wait. He needed the money now. Then he got a message from someone who offered to help him. The person told the teenager that he could help him exchange his trigger coins for Bitcoin, and then he could transfer the Bitcoin to his dad's wallet. The teenager was skeptical, but he had nothing to lose. He agreed to meet with the person and exchange his coins. The meeting went well and the teenager was able to exchange all of his trigger coins for Bitcoin. He was so relieved. Now he could transfer the Bitcoin to his dad's wallet and everything would be fine. But that's when the teenager made a terrible mistake. He transferred the Bitcoin to his own wallet instead of his dad's wallet. He was so close to cashing out, but now he had to find a way to transfer the Bitcoin to his dad's wallet without being detected. He tried using a VPN, but it didn't work. He tried creating a new account on a cryptocurrency exchange, but he was denied. He was stuck and he didn't know what to do. Then he remembered the Crypto Moonshot subreddit. Maybe someone there could help him. He posted a message explaining his situation and asked if anyone could help him transfer the Bitcoin to his dad's wallet. To his surprise, he got a lot of responses. Some people offered to help him, but they wanted him to pay a fee. The teenager did not have any money. He couldn't pay anyone to help him. Then he got a message from someone who offered to help him without charging a fee. The person told the teenager that he could help him transfer the Bitcoin to his dad's wallet, but he needed the teenager's phone number and email address. The teenager was hesitant, but he had no other choice. He gave the person his phone number and email address and waited anxiously for a response. But the response he received was not what he expected. The person who had helped him exchange his trigger coins for Bitcoin had reported him to the authorities. The teenager's phone was soon buzzing with calls from unknown numbers, and his email inbox was flooded with messages from law enforcement agencies. He had been caught and there was no way out. The authorities confiscated his computer and his phone, and his dad was furious. He had never been so ashamed and scared in his entire life. He confessed everything to his dad and begged for forgiveness. But his dad was not having it. He had worked hard to earn his money, and his son had just squandered it all away. The dad took the teenager to a lawyer, and the lawyer advised him to declare bankruptcy. The teenager's Bitcoin holdings were seized, and his dad had to take out a loan to pay back the people who had lent him money. The teenager was devastated. He had lost everything, and he had put his dad in a lot of debt. But he knew that he had only himself to blame. In the end, the teenager learned a valuable lesson about greed and the importance of listening to your parents. If he had just been content with his initial profits, he wouldn't have gotten into all this trouble. And if he had listened to his dad, he wouldn't have invested in cryptocurrency in the first place. As for his dad, he learned that it's important to trust your children and let them make their own mistakes. By taking the teenager's assets and punishing him, he had only made his son more resentful and angry. If he had just given his son some leeway, he might have been able to avoid the bankruptcy and the debt. In the end, both father and son had to deal with the consequences of their actions. The teenager had to live with the knowledge that he had squandered his fortune, and his dad had to deal with the financial burden of his son's mistakes. Maybe if they had both handled the situation differently, things could have turned out better. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below.